Hey, welcome to Coaching Moment Mondays. Hey, today we're asking Andy Wood questions as a part of our Echo Leadership podcast. You as the listeners have submitted these questions, and so Andy is going to answer them in 2 minutes or less. So Andy.
It's the hot seat.
It's the hot seat, man. This question right here is going to really apply to people, especially in nonprofit organizations, which many of our listeners are a part of. And they asked this question: how do you lead volunteers differently than employees? So how do you lead volunteers differently than employees? You ready?
Yep.
You got 2 minutes, man.
Okay. I would start off by saying I'm not entirely sure that volunteers and employees need to be led that much differently from one another. So I think that it would be easy to misinterpret that there's too much of a difference of the style of leadership. I do think that when you're leading an employee, sometimes you do have to make it an employment issue where I just can't keep giving you a paycheck to not do a job. So at some point you're in a contractual situation where you're paying somebody to do a job. If they're not doing the job, then at some point you stop paying them. You don't have to call it firing, just stop paying them to not do the job. I would say though that there are some key skills that really you lean heavily on with a volunteer that you want to cultivate with an employee, and that's leading from influence rather than leading from position. So people who are always leading from position, when somebody has a chance to leave, they're going to leave. They don't want to keep following you. So I would learn the skill of leading from the point of building relationship, knowing how to cast vision, always connecting things to the why, being clear about what you want and are asking people to do, connecting before you correct them. All of those apply in both environments. I would say the primary difference with employees is at some point, if the person is not doing their job with employment, you just don't pay them. But if you're doing the job with having that conversation with a volunteer, you still need to hold them accountable to do the job. And sometimes one of the misunderstandings in leading volunteers is we feel like we can't hold them accountable to do a job. If we do, then we get a lot of mediocrity. So we build the relationship and we hold people accountable, both environments, but we refuse to keep paying somebody who's not going to do a job if they're an employee.
Wow. That's awesome, man. Hey, thanks for sharing that.
My pleasure.
I hope it helps a lot of our nonprofit brothers and sisters who are listening today, who are dealing with a lot of volunteers. Hey, if it's helpful for you today, we'd love for you to share this, subscribe, join us in each week and each month as we release a brand new episode of the Echo Leadership Podcast, and be part of the conversation, helping leaders get better each and every week. We would love to be able to send you some of the show notes and notify you when we're releasing episodes. And the best way to do that is to subscribe on our email list at Echo.Church/leadership podcast. So just go in your browser, Echo.Church/leadership podcast. You can sign up right there to be part of the email list and to download any of the show notes for any episodes so you can join in on the conversation. We hope it's helpful for you, and we hope you get a little bit better this week in your leadership.